The podcast you're about to hear involves true stories, which may contain graphic content that is not suitable for children. Listener's discretion is advised. This is Esoteric Oddities.
Hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
I'm right up in here.
You really are.
Hello.
Hi.
Are you ready?
I told Sarah she needs to talk louder because we listened to your comments and somebody let us know. So thank you. Constructive criticism is always welcome. And this is how we're going to...
Literally me, okay?
This is Esoteric Oddities. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Sarah. Every time you say that, my mind goes to I'm Jonathan. And you keep tricking me. Because now you're Jonathan?
Because I'm a trickster.
I'm a trickster. We have the same hairstyle right now.
Oh my God. And my split ends are worse.
No, mine usually look like that, but I made sure that they were down.
Oh, my crazy flyaways.
Yeah, on the
Just
sides.
call me fucking Lenny Kravitz.
I just knocked myself out.
No, that was karma. That was my grandmother saying, "Don't talk
He's
shit
like,
on my grandson,
gross.
Bitch." I know. I always get like these over here.
Oh my God, they're the worst.
They're the worst.
Especially when it's hot out, they be like, shing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This is this is a new thing we're doing on the podcast where we're going to talk about each other's hair, but you guys can't see it.
anything.
So we're just going to
take our
talk about
word
it.
for it.
So Sarah's hair today, it looks like she hasn't washed him. Today might be day 2.
Oh my God, you're so right.
Yeah,
You're day 5.
Bitch, eat my ass. I washed my hair yesterday, but then my mom gave me this spray.
The hair oil. What?
Did you go through my shit? You're like my little sister. You always know what I have, and I'm like,
let me borrow that shirt.
Why is my chapstick missing? Where's my fucking
I hate
tube
that fucking
top? It's always you. You always take my shit.
That mean that it's like I lost my room chapstick, so now I'm missing my my car chapstick, and my life's a mess. And I'm like, why are you using chapstick? First of all,
what do you use? Carmex.
Salve. I use the Smith salve.
Oh.
It's poppin'. Highly recommend. # not sponsored.
I still use baby lips.
I mean, that stuff's good too. It's like chapstick fucking dries your lips out. Like, who uses chapstick?
Oh my God, that's like when they put in Aquafina water, allegedly they put salt in it to make you more thirsty, to make you buy more water.
Aquafina?
Yeah.
Yo, I feel like you should just filter your fucking water at this
I don't go out of my way to buy Aquafina because fuck that shit unless you want to sponsor the show. Just kidding. We don't sponsor people.
No,
we don't believe
use plastic water bottles. The earth is dying.
Let's just speed the process up. Everybody
Recycle,
throw out.
reuse, Rihanna.
I love that for everybody on this planet.
We're on some shit today.
We are on some shit. Wait, what was I just going to say? Oh, when it comes to water, you should always get spring water because you can't. I learned this
can't fuck it up.
I learned this in my consumer sciences class in high school. I had Mrs. Claypool.
Oh.
And she would always say the word button weird. She would say bantans.
Bantans.
I was like, bitch, open your damn mouth. I saw you do it with your husband last night. So she told us that spring water, you can't label spring water if it's not from a spring. And basically...
Is it cleaner? Sell it.
I guess. I mean, because regular purified water is literally just water that's been filtered. So use a Brita.
Also, how is LaCroix 0 calories? When it's like, they have this one at work and it's called passion fruit. It tastes like fruit punch, but it's like, how is it 0 calories? Like, where's the flavor coming from?
Is a passion fruit a real fruit?
I don't think so. But like, where's the flavor coming from?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a really good question. I don't even know how we got here on the conversation, but here we are.
Yeah. Talking about useless stuff.
What's your favorite soft drink? Let's say it at the same time. No, I'm going to guess yours.
Okay, and I'm going to guess yours.
Okay. Okay, so not water.
No.
Okay, so you're going to...
I mean, like, all I drink is water because I'm poor.
It's crazy because all I drink is water too, but I don't really crave anything. I'm on day 12 of keto, and I
love that for you.
I drink black coffee, iced black coffee, and water, and that's all.
Well,
I drink.
it's just like water to me. I feel like that's the only thing that makes me feel good. Like,
and a good compliment every now and then.
Yeah, like it cleared up my fucking skin.
Sure did. Yeah, it's true. It's true. It makes me bloat like a goat, though. Okay.
Right?
You heard that right.
I sure did.
All right. So anyway, your favorite soft drink when you go out. I don't know if I know those.
I think I only get water.
You really do. I'm gonna say, well, it depends on your mood. You like an iced tea.
I love iced tea. You like Sprite.
When it comes to soda, you would go for Pepsi, but you wouldn't be mad if they had Coke.
Oh my God, you know me so well. I love Pepsi.
Okay, wait. I'm gonna be really pissed at you because you should know.
I know.
It's the only soda I drink.
Coke.
What kind?
Diet.
Thank you. What the fuck? Do you remember I used to have it on my knuckles and I would go to class and the teacher...
Like, I cannot. Diet Coke. And
20
then
to
he
11.
used to always convince me that if you mix Diet Coke with alcohol, you'd get drunker. But I feel like it wasn't true. That
is a thing because the aspartame, I swear for God. Yeah, I swear because it's probably not good for you or your liver or your future children. But I think the aspartame does something.
I also really like green tea.
Green tea's good too.
Mm-hmm. Like I can't find any like natural.
Just go outside, pick it off the tree.
Yeah, green tree.
Green tea leaf tree. All right. Hey guys.
What even was this beginning?
I don't know. We had a lot that we needed to let out, and I think we've definitely covered the fluids.
I had the most stressful week at work.
Do you want to vent about it?
No, it's just stressful.
Oh.
That's it. That's all.
Well, for everybody listening, it's a Monday, so hopefully your week isn't stressful.
No, that's not how we do it. Thoughts become things. Your week will not be stressful.
There we go.
Manifest like all day. Affirmations all day, okay?
Affirmados. They have really good cheese pizza. So today's topic is...
Survivors. I'm a survivor.
I'm not gonna give up.
I'm not gonna stop.
But we're gonna stop because we don't have copyright money.
Yeah, skirt. I don't have any money.
Trooby dooby. And with that being said, I believe you go first. Everything blends together for me.
I know. I don't know what's what.
Especially because, like, when we do it, like, a week ahead, I'm doing research for one. I'm doing research for a bonus episode. I'm editing the old bonus episode, and I'm editing the previous episode.
Jonathan does a lot, and I'm literally useless.
You are not useless. You show up, and you bring the shit. You shoot the shit. You're beautiful.
What is that song?
And I'm
get up, get out. It's time to go now. Walk out down that Space Jam. You can edit that out.
Oh, that's Beethoven.
I love that for you.
But wait, what was I going to say? I was going to say something else. Oh, also, I'm a control freak. So the things that you could take over, I'm just like, no.
And I'm a control freak with like everything that has to do with planning something. So we cover all bases here.
We do. Some would say it's unhealthy, but
what's unhealthy?
You're listening to this episode and it came out on time, didn't it, bitches?
Literally, all thanks to someone, Jonathan. Okay. Since I had criticism that I don't speak into the microphone, I am speaking into the microphone.
It wasn't criticism. It was somebody who just had a comment, and we appreciate constructive criticism.
No, it's good.
Oh, okay. I wanted to fight.
Don't fight.
No, I wanted to fight.
I don't got no beef. All right. Born in the 1940s, Corazon Amurao grew up in a small province in Batangas near Manila in the Philippines. One of 8 siblings, Corazon spoke Tagalog before beginning to learn English at school in 1st grade. Her educational path eventually led to nursing. She graduated from Far Eastern University in Manila, then worked for 2 years before applying and starting at a position at an American hospital in 1966. With a population of around 200 people, her village was small, but despite the modest size of her hometown and her own 4-foot 10-inch frame, she was not easily intimidated. Corazon arrived in the U.S. from her home in the Philippines on May 9, 1966, to take a position as a staff nurse at the South Chicago Community Hospital. She lived in a townhouse with 8 other women finishing out their senior years at the hospital's nursing school. She spent her time working shifts and making friends with her roommates. After working a shift at the South Chicago Community Hospital on July 13, 1966, Corazon took a shuttle back to the yellow brick townhouse she shared with her fellow nurses. She followed her normal routine, washing clothes, writing letters to her family back in the Philippines. At 10:30 p.m., she decided to head to bed in the room she shared with Merlita Gargiulo.
Did none of her I'm assuming she's here alone.
Yeah.
Her whole family is back. Okay.
Yeah.
Also, I love how she's always living with 8. She's got 8 siblings. She's got 8 housemates.
Yeah, right? 8.
Whoa. It's
Angel
her
numbers.
lucky number. Lucky number 8. What's your lucky number?
I think 7 or 17.
I love it.
And 717 I see a lot.
My lucky number is 218. It's my birthday, and I
that.
see it every fucking
You literally
day.
do, multiple times a day.
I swear for God.
So 30 minutes later, a man broke into their window. It was unknown to Corazon and her roommates that there was now a man in their house. His name was Richard Speck.
Oh no, is this in the middle of the night?
It's at 11, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
So Speck entered the townhouse around 11 through a window and found his way upstairs with a .22 pistol and a hunting knife in his hand. At this time, he knocked 4 times on Corazon's door, and she let him in. At first, the American woman in the townhouse didn't think that Speck had violent intentions because of his calm demeanor.
But why the fuck are you in my house?
Look, I'm saying, like, what? After
How big was this house that he... Well, in my head, he, like, smashed through the window, but it's more than likely that he just opened a window that was unlocked.
After answering Speck's knock at the door, Corazon nonetheless retreated to a closet to hide with her roommate, Merlita.
Oh my God, that's horrifying.
You're right. And also a woman named Valentina was also in the closet with them. The 3 of them eventually was fished out by another housemate that convinced them to stay calm in Speck's presence to ensure their safety.
Right. Okay, she's smart. She's the level-headed girl that you
So
want
she's like,
in your
hey,
sorority.
Yeah, but also no, because there's a strange man with a pistol and a knife in my house, and you're telling me to get out of the closet and stay calm? Like, no, I'm staying in here.
Was she telling them to get out of the closet?
Yeah, because she was saying, like, basically...
that he's not going to do anything?
Yeah.
But he has a... But didn't she see the... Okay.
Yeah. So, there's other stories saying that he, like, got through the front door, and there's other stories saying the window, but I read more of the window, so that's what I am going with.
Either way, lock your fucking windows.
Either way, he still has a fucking pistol.
I'm not going to say that as we record this podcast. We'll talk about it later.
So, the other nurses assured the 3 people in the closet, which were Valentina, Merlita, and Corazon, that the man just wanted cash to get to New Orleans, and they believed that they would be safe after they gave him the money. When the rest of the housemates arrived home that night, he held them at gunpoint. This is Robert Speck. I mean, not Robert.
Richard
Speck.
Right.
Sometime around midnight, he bound all 9 women with strips of fabric, took them one at a time into another room, and killed them.
Oh, no.
It was during this process that Corazon took the opportunity to roll under the bed and hide.
I think I know this. I vaguely recall this story.
For the remainder of the 6 hours that he was taking these women in a room and killing them, she stayed silent and undetected under the bed as her friends were taken and literally, like, slain to death.
One by one.
Right?
For hours. Ooh, that is a mental switch that you got to go into survival mode.
Right?
Jesus.
Like, imagine that. But
and that has to
I feel like
like
it's because of where
days.
she's from that she was able to do this.
Possibly, I don't know. I feel
But
like a lot of people will be surprised with what they're capable of in a
when
situation
they have to, like,
like
move,
that.
right?
Except for me, because anytime I'm
I feel
scared,
like I'd freeze.
I fucking freeze. Are you kidding?
I'd be like,
I hear something in my house. I'm like, there's a murder, and I stop and I don't move, and I just can't do it.
I feel like I look.
I don't want to look.
Sometimes I'll hear things in my house. Like, sometimes when I'm really high, like you know how I have that balcony and the door. Like, I'll be like,
yeah, the muffin drama, the biscuit drama,
the
great biscuit drama of
scary,
2019.
Okay? According to Corazon's account, the others didn't make a sound as they were taken from the holding room. She heard them cry and scream when they were alone with Speck in the adjacent room.
Okay. Are they students?
Yes, so they're
Okay.
nursing students. So I think they're probably like 23 at this point.
Right. Okay. Right.
Corazon only can listen to their muffled terror as she remained silent.
Do you know, was he shooting them? Like, was it a loud bang?
I'll get to that.
Okay, because that was my only question, is if they're in a townhouse.
Yeah, like, why wouldn't you hear that? But it's also Chicago.
Right. But if there's 8 girls and that's 7 gunshots.
Screaming. Yeah. So Speck was intoxicated on the night of his mass murder. He was known to be an alcoholic, and he patronized several bars in Chicago before entering the townhouse that the 9 nurses were in. Luckily for Corazon, the same inebriation helped her literally escape.
Right, because he was drunk.
Yeah, so
Okay.
he later confessed to the state of mind. He lost count of how many women he killed, and this allowed Corazon to get away and remain undiscovered because he didn't know how many fucking people were in the house.
Can't he just take a body count? Where's he putting them all? The fuck?
Well, he forgot how many were in the room.
We're in there
because he was
to
drunk.
begin with. Oh, okay.
So after Speck left the building, after killing all the women, Corazon remained in place until 6 a.m. before attempting to get help.
Okay. Oh, sorry. So he wasn't killing them for 6 hours. She waited there for 6 plus hours.
Yeah.
How long between?
He killed them from, I think, he got in the house at 11, and I think he finished at 12:30. It said.
Oh shit. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Wow. Fuck. Oh, that's freaking awful.
So I'm going to go a little bit forward, but then I'm going to take it back.
Okay.
So stay with me.
Cha-cha slide. I'm here for it.
I don't have a date for this. I mean, I don't have a year. But on December 5th, a part of the terror ended when Speck, which he was 49 at this point, died of a heart attack in a hospital near the Joliet prison where he had been held for 24 years. This is when she's recorded saying, "I feel relieved. I prayed a lot. I've tried to live a normal life, but it's not easy." And these women were her family, so she feels like my family is gone.
Oh, that's traumatizing. You can't really even put that into words, like what that's like to go through that shit.
Right. So I'm going to talk a little bit about, I'm going to give you a background about Richard Speck's life.
Oh, God. He doesn't deserve the airtime, but
really
we're going to do it anyway because I like some background story.
You already know. Speck was one of 8 children born in...
Another 8.
888.
Oh my God, it's a sign. I don't know why that took me so long to put that cup down. I don't know why that took me a really long time to put that cup down.
Speck was one of 8 children born in Monmouth, New Jersey, to Mary Margaret Speck and her husband Benjamin. They were both religious, hardworking potters who died when Richard was 6.
Okay, can I interrupt really quick?
Yeah.
This is very off topic, and I meant to bring this up earlier,
so right.
But you said New Jersey, so I just want to take a second and say, our friend Maisie, who's been on the podcast.
Yes, Maisie, she just graduated today.
I know,
congrats, bitch.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
She fucking hates that. I would too. So her dad is Mark Moran,
From
who
Weird,
writes
New Jersey.
Weird New Jersey.
Yes.
So if anybody this past week listened to, I think, episode 172 or something like that of My Favorite Murder, Georgia talked about Mark Moran. And I freaked the fuck out.
Yes, we know him.
And
We don't know him, but we know
screenshot
Maisie.
I screenshot it and I sent it to Maisie and I told her, and she was probably drunk because it was like later and I was a little tipsy myself.
Yeah.
And I was like, fast forward to 65
So
minutes
funny.
and 78 seconds. They talk about your dad. Wait, well, it wouldn't have been 78 seconds because after 60 seconds, it's a minute. Silly
It's
goose.
so fine.
But I thought that was incredible. I forget what tale it was. It was something
His
about the
magazines
devil's
are
teeth.
so they're so
Listen, that's
informative
my
and
childhood.
great.
You don't have to tell me about that.
Like, y'all need to get on these weird NJ magazines. Like,
And it's not just New Jersey, but
no, he does weird everything. Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, like every weird state.
so yeah, you said New Jersey, and I meant to say something to you. I didn't know if Maisie told you. I actually meant to tell you yesterday, and then I was like, I should tell her on the podcast. But I thought that was really cool. So shout out to Maisie and her father, because he's been doing it for years too. He's been doing it for a lot longer than like it's been. I hate to say it's like cool, but it's like kind of trendy now.
Yeah,
you guys know what
like
we're talking about.
True crime
is like really fucking trendy now, and I think definitely My Favorite Murder helped jump that.
Definitely the like podcast.
Yeah, they're like the gods of
true crime podcast.
Yeah, they really are.
Well, move over. No, just kidding.
Sweet.
I know, right? Last podcast on the left is really good too.
See. Okay, so you were actually the one who told me to listen to them, and I gave 2 episodes a listen,
and you didn't like it.
And then under them, I forget where I was listening to them, but it wasn't on my phone because I was at work and I couldn't have the old situation. I couldn't have my phone out, so I was listening to them on the computer, and a little pop up came up, and it was like My Favorite Murder. I was like, what the fuck is this? Because I didn't listen to podcasts before, and it was one of their newer. Like they were probably on episode like 20 something.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my god! And then we kind of started this real quick.
We sure did. We were like, let's get on it. Okay.
Anyway, back to this.
Back to Richard Speck.
He's in New Jersey. He has a mom and 8 siblings, and he's a piece of shit. And his face looks like lumpy mashed potatoes.
Yeah, basically. After his mother married Carl Lindbergh in 1950, Richard and his younger sister, Carolyn, moved with the couple to Dallas. Even then, he was troubled, a loner, and a poor student who dropped out of school in 9th grade. His first arrest came at age 13 when he started a fire in a used car lot. Over the next 11 years, he was arrested 40 more times as he drifted from one odd job to another.
40
odd jobs.
No, 40 times he was arrested.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
It's
but
okay,
I saw 40 and then I saw odd jobs, and
it's okay. They blended together.
The one time I was writing down details for a client, he said great, and I wrote down great. And I was reviewing my notes after, and I was like,
that is so
this
funny.
doesn't make sense.
That would have been funnier if you said gruel.
Gruel. I meant to say great and cool, so I said gruel.
Well, gruel.
At 19, Speck married Shirley Malone, a 15-year-old he met at a county fair, and he had a daughter with her named Robbie Lynn before he was sent to state prison at Huntsville, Texas in 1963 for forgery and burglary.
Oh, something he seemed to
He was 19, she
around
was
with.
15, named his daughter Robbie Lynn.
No, she had a daughter already, yeah?
No.
He had a daughter already?
Yes.
Oh, they had a daughter together?
Yeah.
Oh, he put the P in the V, and... Okay,
and she was 15.
Underrated. That's... Okay.
Yep, you already know. He was released in 1965 and divorced the following year, and in March 1966, he returned to New Jersey.
How you gonna be on an episode of My Super Sweet 16 and I'm a divorced 16-year-old and teen mom, like all in the same? How is she gonna do that?
With a daughter named Robbie Lynn. I hate it.
I hate it too. I mean, I do love an androgynous name. Was it Robbie, like Robbi?
You already know.
That's kind of cute. That sounds like a waitress that would be 60-some years old at like a diner.
Robbie.
And she brings out the fucking the onion soup, and you're like, I don't really want that. And her name tag says Robbie with an I.
I'm dying. By then, the ex-con had a reputation as a knife-wielding, woman-abusing drinker and a pill popper who frequently got into bar fights.
All right, Mary popping pills over here. Okay.
The following month, he went to Chicago, where he worked on and off as a seaman after... I always have to laugh at that. A seaman. After learning a job, he...
Ew, did you hear? I like realize when I laugh and I lean into this microphone, this
it's a lot of noise.
Well, it picks up things that I don't know happen when I'm
like,
laughing. Or also I do this annoying thing that I didn't know I did. If I'm anticipating you saying something funny, I'll be like, God, I'm like, so annoying.
It's a lot to listen to yourself talk.
It is.
But you like do it like double time.
I do. I think I'm just immune to everything.
Triple time. After learning, what did you say?
One hop now, y'all.
Two hops, doop.
Left foot, let's go.
I think I'm losing it.
You can't lose what you never had, baby girl.
You're
All
right.
Let's clap back at it back. Okay, where are we?
After learning a job had fallen through on July 12th, we're in 1966. So July 12th, 1966.
That's today.
No, it's not.
Okay, I just wanted to see if I got you.
He spent most of his day drinking at a bar before leaving around 10:30 and walking into the night. So this is the day that
This happened.
this all led up to this
Okay.
day that he killed these nurses.
Had he murdered someone before?
No, I think before this it was just like
He just carried a knife
regular
around
like burglary and shit like that.
and hood rat shit.
No one knew what he had in mind when he slipped through the kitchen door of the townhouse and went to the second floor. At gunpoint, he held Corazon, her bunkmate Merlita, in a large bedroom where 4 of their housemates, Valentina, Nina Jo, and Pamela, and Patricia, they were all 20, were sleeping. He ordered all 6 women to sit on the floor, telling them he only wanted money to go to New Orleans. This is where they're telling her that, like, hey,
It's gonna be fine.
it's going to be fine if you just come out the closet.
Oh, they're 20. They're not even women. They're girls.
Right. Like, if you just come out of the closet, he just said he wants money. It's going to be fine.
Right.
So, another student nurse named Gloria, she's 22, she came into the room and Specs used a knife to slice a bedsheet into strips and began binding his victim's legs and wrists. He says, "Don't be afraid." And he's saying this, moving to one woman to another. And he's saying, "I'm not going to hurt you."
Lies.
For a while, he just sat there, smiling, smoking cigarettes, and talking. So this is where they think, like, hey, this man, like, he seems really calm and nice, like, but they're also tied up. So I'm like, where do you get that from?
Yeah. Well, I mean, fuck,
You never
that's,
know.
Scary.
Like,
That's
yeah,
scary.
exactly. So, like, you're just thinking the best. Like, you want to stay
Yeah.
positive, you know?
Yeah, and this is also the 50s, 60s.
60s. Then the killing began. He untied Pamela's ankles and took her into the other bedroom. It was at this time that Corazon, she heard a sigh and then silence. Later, Pamela was found on the floor, gagged, strangled, and stabbed in the left breast.
Oof.
When housemate Susan Ferris and a friend, Marianne Jordan, came into the bedroom, Speck appeared behind them and herded them into the room where he took Pamela. There was yelling and brief sounds of struggle. Some 20 minutes later came the sound of running water as Speck washed his hand after stabbing the 2 women 22 times.
That's excessive.
Right? The killings continued as Speck hauled his victims, some of them hiding under the bunk beds, from the floor and slaughtered them outside the room. His last victim was Gloria Jean, who he raped on the bed while Corazon was laying underneath it, silently praying.
That's fucking heavy.
Right? And then Speck took Gloria to the living room and strangled her. It was at this time that Corazon crawled under another bed where a sheet was hanging over the floor, which like covered underneath the bed.
Like a bed skirt almost.
Right. Speck returned to the room and he was checking the women's purses for some change. It was at this time that Corazon said that she waited until she heard nothing else in the house. She says, "I don't know how, but I was able to untie myself." At 6 a.m., she walked to her bedroom and climbed out the window into the ledge. She was screaming, "They are dead. My friends are dead," she screamed. "I'm the only one alive." Within an hour, Corazon had described the murderer, and the police fanned out in one of Chicago's largest chases. By the next day, detectives had matched up Speck's fingerprints from the townhouse with his arrest records and traced him to the Northside Hotel. Speck had already left and checked into a Skid Row flop house where the next night, apparently after learning he had left a survivor, Speck attempted suicide by slashing his wrist with a broken wine bottle. He was taken to Cook County Hospital, where an alert resident, Dr. Leroy Smith, recognized Speck from newspaper photos.
It's always fucking Cook County.
Right. Smith had uncovered an eerie tattoo saying "Born to Raise Hell" on Speck that had been included in descriptions of Speck in the newspaper.
Oh, praise be to God that
Right.
doctor reads the newspaper.
Right. And then Speck was taken to jury 9 months later, only 49 minutes before they obviously convicted him of 8 counts of murder. In 1972, after the U.S. Supreme Court had reversed the death penalty in 41 cases, including Speck's, he was resentenced to 8 consecutive terms of 50 to 150 years. he became eligible for parole in 1976.
Oh. Oh. What?
Yeah, it's like something happened where, like, at this point, they changed the law and it reversed it and was able...
Bitch, you should have been grandfathered the fuck in. Okay, well, at least he's fucking dead, and I hope that it hurt, and I hope he's burning in hell.
He never confessed to his crimes, even after a quarter century in prison, where he collected stamps, painted oils, and made moonshine. He finally died on December 5th. There was no mourning, just relief.
Good, bitch.
And that is the story of Corazon Amaral.
Ugh, a survivor.
She is a survivor.
Dude, that's fucked up. Fuck, that's rough. Do you know if they ever did anything for the girls? Like, what happened with the house?
I'm not sure.
Oh.
I know that the family was there at every, like, court hearing, being like, this
I'm
is
sure.
fucked up.
And I'm sure those families probably got really close and, like, because they only know what each other is going through. Do you know what I mean? So, I don't even want to say what I'm going to say, so I'm not going to say it. But wow, that's fucked up. That's heavy. Guys, please don't murder anybody. Don't get drunk during the day and carry around a knife. And also lock your windows and your doors.
Yeah, literally. Every one of them.
While my brother was away, I was home alone for an entire week. And I usually will leave the light on outside, but then I remembered Richard Ramirez would see a light on the Night Stalker, and he took it as an invitation to come on in. And I said, bitch, no, thank you.
Not today.
I'm gonna lock these doors, I'm gonna bar the windows, and I sleep with a baseball bat. It's my penis.
Oh, I love that for you.
Okay. All right, so it's my turn. So for my story, a lot of the quotes use the word Eskimo, and I know that is not really politically correct. So where I could change it, I'm going to say Inuit, and then where I say Eskimo, I don't know how many times it's in here. I may have taken them all out, but if I say it, just know it's like in a quote somewhere. But this is the tale of Ada Blackjack. Have you heard of her?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, there's probably a reason for it. Anywhere you look, she's kind of known as the woman who was, didn't make it to history books when she probably should have. All right, so Ada Delatuck was born May 10th, 1898 in Spruce Creek, Alaska, which is a remote settlement north of the Arctic Circle. So that same exact year was the year of the Alaskan gold rush. So thousands of people fled to the nearby town of Nome in search for gold, because the influx of gold then allowed the town to flourish. And by 1904, Nome had 7 saloons, a post office, a phone service, a mail service, and a daily boat transport, which was kind of unheard of for their little remote town in Alaska. What?
I heard some rumbling.
Oh, my neighbors have been loud.
Oh, okay, cool.
I think they're trying to have another baby.
I love that for them.
But in 1913, 60-mile-per-hour winds and 40-foot breakers washed away the railroad tracks and most of the town. So the once thriving mini city of Nome, with a population of 1,000 people, became a remote Inuit village with a population of just under 300. So when Ada was 8 years old, she was home with her father and her younger sister while their mother was away. I'm not exactly where her mother was away, but she was like out of town.
Oh my God, she was only 8?
Yeah, she was 8. She had a younger sister, but she also had a father, so she was staying with her father. But her father became ill after he had eaten meat that was too old, and then afterward he had eaten meat that was fresh and not thoroughly cooked. And the combination of both of those things turned his stomach, and he suffered an extreme case of food poisoning. So Ada and her younger sister dressed their father. They strapped him to a sled, knowing that he was going to need help. But the only problem was that the closest town was 30 fucking miles east of their remote village. So Ada and her little sister pulled the sled by foot.
Oh, shit.
And they walked a few miles, and that was when they realized that their father had died.
Oh, no.
So they had to turn around with their dead father and sled him back in the cold snow. So in 1918, there was a massive flu epidemic that struck the small village, and it killed almost the entire fucking population.
Yo, what?
But luckily, Ada's mother had sent her away to the once gold rush town of Nome. Remember, where she was living was slightly out of the way of Nome, but they're close enough to Nome. So her mom was like, hey, everybody's getting sick. Why don't you GTFO and go to Nome? So Ada was taken in there by missionaries. So she was now 16 years old, and Ada was taught to speak, read, and write English at a 3rd grade level. And at the mission school, she learned how to cook white people food. That's what it said in quotes. So I'm assuming that is probably unseasoned boiled chicken breast and green bean casserole. At the mission school, Ada also was taught how to wash, how to iron, how to clean, and how to sew, which she fucking thrived in, bitch. She said, show me the sewing machine and I will show you a fucking sweater. You want a cardigan? I got you.
Right, I love that for her.
So her sewing skills then eventually led her to a part-time living making clothes for miners in the town. That's miners who mine coal, not underage children. It's also important to note that although Ada was a native Alaskan Inuit, she was not raised with any knowledge of hunting or wilderness survival. So that's a preconceived notion that people have of Inuits, that they know how to survive in the wild and they build igloos and shit, but that was not the case, especially not with Ada. So she didn't know any of that. So I'm just going to let you know that now, because that's going to play a major role. So as a young woman, she was 100 pounds. She stood at 4'11", and her stature was so petite that she had to buy her clothes at the children's stores. Oh, so
Me.
cute. Yeah, literally you. You always get the cute clothes. You can still shop at Limited too. So jealous.
I literally hated there.
Fuck off. She was a, quote, full-blooded Eskimo, end quote, with soft features, olive skin, and long pin straight black hair. She was polite and shy, but she was an extremely good listener. And though she was cheerful and lighthearted, she was distrustful of strangers, which is a good thing.
Should, right.
Which is a good thing. So as she got older, she enjoyed indulging in a few alcoholic beverages at a local saloon while socializing. But this she was by no means a drunk. But she enjoyed to go out, socialize with people, and have a couple of drinks, which people didn't exactly like her for that because it wasn't really ladylike. So in her 20s, Ada met a notorious hunter named Jack Blackjack. Yes, that's his real name.
What?
And the two married and moved to Stewart Peninsula, which is about 40 miles away from Nome. So the couple had 3 children, but unfortunately, 2 of the youngest ones died at a very young age. So Jack Blackjack, fucking asshole. He was an alcoholic and an abusive husband. He would beat her, and he would even fucking starve her and deprive her of food and water until 1921, when the two divorced. So
yes, girl, get out of that relationship.
I'm saying this is kind of odd, but even though the two divorced, Ada kept his last name, so she was Ada Blackjack for many years.
Oh, no.
And a lot of obviously that's what I said, this is about Ada Blackjack, but for the rest of it, I kind of want to leave the last name out. I don't know how she felt about it, but I'm just going to call her Ada. And also, I don't know how it was legally, if they were legally divorced and if they were legally married, but I believe they were, because the word divorced is not left the relationship, but divorced is what's kind of being thrown around in my research. I'm adjusting my glasses as I say. What did that girl say on the Magic Jungle or Magic? Oh my God, Magic Jungle. Do you remember Magic Jungle?
No.
Oh my God, it was a place. It was fucking awesome. But wait, what was I saying? Oh, the Magic School Bus. Remember?
Oh yeah.
That bitch, Dee Dee. What was her name? Phoebe. She was like, according to my calculations, and I just want to fucking throat punch her. Just kidding. That's rude. She was in 2nd grade, and she was really smart. She's probably thriving right now. I wouldn't be surprised if she runs for president. Let's all vote for PB in 2020.
I love that. You should run for president.
Are you kidding me?
I'd be like, yeah, you want to do that? Okay.
Girl,
sounds good.
The only runs I got are the runs of my shorts. The fuck?
Yikes.
Oh, good. Okay, so when they divorced, Ada was only 22 years old, and Jack pretty much just abandoned her and their last surviving son, 5-year-old Bennett, who had tuberculosis.
Oh, no.
According to people who knew her, the two were, quote, bone poor and nearly starving. I don't quite know what bone poor is, but it paints the picture, doesn't it?
It sure is.
And Ada was so close with her son Bennett. She would do anything for her. She was a great mother. She literally would do any, and you'll start to gather that information. But Bennett was like her world. He was her life. She loved him to pieces. And with no other choice, Ada had to go back to live with her mother, who now lived in Nome, which, again, she's now living on a peninsula because she married this Jack Black ass jack off. Black jack off. And that's 40 miles away. Ada and Bennett walked the entire 40 fucking miles.
No!
And when her son became too weak to walk, Ada carried him. So when they arrived, Ada brought Bennett to an orphanage where he was going to be looked after and nursed to health. This is not something that Ada had ever wanted to do, but Bennett, especially after traveling 40 miles, was extremely weak. He was very fragile and tubercular. Again, he had tuberculosis, and she could not afford herself to keep him healthy and alive. Also, the orphanage was there to care for Bennett. It wasn't the best care, but they were there to care for Bennett, but they were not going to adopt him out. So it's not like she was like, I got to get rid of this son.
Right,
but it was almost like a daycare / hospital for him.
Her life is rough already.
I know.
She lost her dad. Her husband was a fucking
asshole.
Yeah.
She's only 22 and her child is 5 years old and has tuberculosis. So at this time, Nome was a dangerous place to live. There were no sewers, no ditches, no safe drinking water, and the crime was at an all-time high. The people in the town would randomly be shot in the middle of the street and stabbed, and it was like, and it was like not unheard of. So this kind of developed after the miners who were building the city during the gold rush, like 10ish, well, I guess now like 20ish years ago, or 20ish years prior to that. They had crafted it, and then that craft kind of started turning into a nightmare of greed and barren land. Literally, the pictures of this place is fucking depressing. Even though it's like a cold ass Alaska, it looks like a desert. It's just like there's no trees. It's just flat fucking gray everything, and there's like mountains in the back.
Is there a reason that like they don't have any like livelihood there? Like, did something happen?
What do you mean?
Like, I don't know.
I think it's just kind of what happened to the fate of the town over time because of the gold rush.
Oh,
because Nome was, remember I said it was thriving. It was the mini city, was the place to be. They were the like one of the first places in that area
miners,
that had
coal, not
and they had
underage.
But they had like phones, they had a post office, they had all this shit. But then a storm came and fucked all that shit up.
So that's why
and now
there's just dead.
Yeah, and now like there's not really any more gold. This is about 20 some years later, or a little bit less than 20 years later.
So now no one cares for it, basically, and everyone's just
essentially,
stuck there.
And it's kind of just falling to pieces. Well, yeah, essentially. It's also a fact of, there's these native Inuit people who are living in this town, and a whole bunch of greedy people come in when they hear the word gold. The town gets built up, and then when a storm hits they can't get what they want, so they fucking leave.
Right.
History repeats itself, would you say?
It does. It does.
It does. Okay, so Ada took up a job as a seamstress because she could sew like no one else. So she started saving her money as much as she could because all she wanted to do was pay to bring her son home. It was during this time that Ada heard of an expedition headed for Wrangel Island. So this expedition was organized by the charismatic Arctic explorer Vilhelmir Stefansson, and he wanted to claim land that was just north of Siberia and called Wrangel Island from Russia for the British Empire, even though the British Empire didn't have any slightest interest in wanting it. So we're going to keep that in mind. So a little history on this Vilhelmir Stefansson. He was actually born William Stephenson.
Oh.
But he wanted...
He changed his...
He wanted to honor his...
What a fucking tool.
He wanted to honor his Iceland. You think that now, just you wait. He wanted to honor his Icelandic heritage, and he wanted it to sound like a cool explorer. So he's like Vilhelmir
I feel bad for
Stefansson.
calling him a tool, but like
No.
it's like... He is a tool. I feel very tooly about this guy.
The whole damn toolbox.
Like, it just seems like you want to go to this fucking place and call it yours when you have no business being there. Like, you're a fucking tool.
It's funny you say that because my very next sentence says, he's kind of an asshole. You're not going to like him. All right, so rewinding a little bit. So this, now we know about Ada. We know where she's at when she's learning about this. Now let's learn about this tool bag, right? So let's rewind to see how his previous expedition went. So in 1913, Stephenson, I'm just going to call him Stephenson. Stephenson organized an expedition to find an undiscovered continent that sat at the top of the world. So 3 ships were employed with 24 other men, and they went out. They were having a great old time. They were almost at their place that they wanted to be. And Stephenson left the main ship when it becomes stuck in the ice on August of 1913. So Stephenson's explanation was that he was going to take 5 of his other friends that were on this ship. And he was like, the 5 of us, we're going to go look for fresh meat for the crew. We will BRB, don't you fret. However, those who were left on the ship later suspected that he left deliberately, anticipating what was going to happen next. So he was like, I need to get the fuck off this boat. I'm going to tell them that I'm going to go get them food and I'll BRB. So
dirty man.
The ship with the 20-some expedition members left aboard, drifted westward with the ice, and eventually crashed and sank on January 11th, 1914. 4 survivors from the shipwreck made their way to a local island but died there before they could be rescued. 4 other survivors tried reaching another island on their own, but they also died. The remaining members of the expedition made their way to a nearby island where 3 more died. These are on different islands. And the island that last group landed on was Wrangel Island. Coincidence? I think not. So remaining survivors were picked up by American fishing boats and they were rescued. Stephenson and the small group that he was with, of course, survived. So there was, 24, 25 people who were there. I think 10 survived.
And Ada's not in this, right?
No, this is in 1913.
Okay, got it.
So this is when she's a kid. This is just
It didn't happen.
Stephenson's thing. Yeah, this is just what happened prior. So one of the surviving men was 19-year-old Fred Muir, and he will become a main character in Ada's life. So keep him tucked in your asshole. Ew. So that was again in 1913. So let's get back to 1921 in Nome. So ultimately, Stephenson assembled a team of 4 young men. There was 20-year-old Alan Crawford, 28-year-old Lorne Knight, 19-year-old Milton Gale, and our now 28-year-old buddy Freddie Muir.
Is that guy's name Lauren?
Lorne, 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 not Lauren.
Him.
You can call him Lauren if you want.
Love that.
So that Fred Muir guy, he's now 28. He was on the previous expedition. That was a shit show. Should have been a red flag. So their jobs were to explore the island. They were going to research the resources. They were going to get samples of the water, samples of the rocks, samples of the trees, the flowers, and more. So Canada could eventually send settlers to live there and thrive on the new founded island. Bitch, what's good? Wrangel Island. I'm going to auto-tune that in post-production if I can remember.
Love that
it's going to sound so good. So what seemed to be lucky for the now 23-year-old Ada was the fact that they were actually seeking an Alaskan native seamstress who spoke English to join the expedition. And she's just like,
that. It's perfect.
I'm an Alaskan native seamstress. I speak English. I want to join the expedition. Huh? But Ada had some feelings about shipping out with the expedition with 4 white men, as she motherfucking should.
Right.
But Stephenson told her that there was a handful of other Alaskan Inuits who were going to be joining, and he promised a salary of $50 a month, which to her, she had never fucking been offered that money
right, so she
ever.
was like,
yes, she was like, hell yes, bitch. I got $50.
Do it right.
I'm saying $50 a month. She could get the FabFitFun box. She could do all the subscription box.
FabFitFun box.
Yeah, she could. You know that subscription service?
I don't.
Oh shit!
I'm gonna have to look it up.
Yeah, you're gonna have to look it up. I hope somebody else got that reference. All right, it didn't land, so I'm just gonna keep going.
Like my life.
True. Balag day. So, she thought if she just went on this expedition, the plan was they were going to hold out for the expedition was going to be a year. She was going to come back. She was going to be like, do that money, that cash flow is going to be racking the fuck up.
50 a month.
I am going to, do that math times however months are in a year.
Yeah.
12-ish, 13, I don't recall. But do the math. Exactly.
On your own time? Thanks.
Thank you. And she was like, that's going to be enough money and then some to get Bennett home and then pay for the best medical care that Alaska has to offer.
And then, like, get her a house.
Or the FabFitFun box. But after Stephenson hand-selected the members and funded the mission, it became clear that Stephenson himself had no intention of joining the party. That's
because he fucked up that first one.
He was like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't go on this again, but I'm just going to do I feel like you're following the story.
Y'all got this, right?
Yeah. So he still sent his inexperienced team north with only 6 months of supplies.
Wait, was it the same people from the last one?
No.
Okay, so that's why they're not woke.
No.
Okay.
The one guy's the same. Fred Muir.
I would have been like, red
same.
flags, guys. Let's not.
He was 19 on the first trip, and now he's 28.
Okay.
Everybody else is new. However, I didn't go into the history of how they all met. I did briefly read a book that went into each of them. So they each kind of
Where do you find these books?
A library? Why did you say it like that?
You go to the library?
You are so funny. You're like, what are these books you speak of?
When do you go to the library?
When I have time. It's a really creepy library. It's like an old house and the floors creak. It's like, and the lady's like, do you have your library card? She's super nice. Love you, Tanya, if you're listening to this.
I love that for you.
Okay, well, what was I saying?
When you read a book.
Okay, so
I didn't know you knew how to read.
Each fuck all the way off. I'm flicking you like a booger. Go away. I used to have a bad habit of flicking my boogers on the ceiling, and one time in
a collection.
a collection, if you will. In first grade, they were having story time. We were sitting on the carpet, and I was in like the middle, and I flicked a booger, and it landed on the book the teacher was reading. And she was like, who did this?
Embarrassing.
Who flicked this booger?
I'd be like, literally,
everybody blames Raul.
Wow.
I'm so
You're
sorry.
You're a fake bitch.
Raul, I'm half tempted to add him on Facebook and be like, dude, I'm so sorry.
It was me that flicked the booger in.
I was the booger flicker in first grade, Mrs. Mitchell's class.
That one time at bed, it was me that flicked the booger.
I'm sorry. She was reading Mr. Popper's Penguins.
I love that for you.
Oh, God. I really did flick that entire booger. Hey, guys, let's bring it back. Come on, everybody, be professional here. This is a professional space.
Now, don't you know?
That was uncalled for. So again, he sent away. Oh, what I was saying was each of these other guys besides Ada, they knew him and they kind of knew of his work, but they didn't really look into his disaster except for Fred. Okay,
you literally
back to
have
this.
to research everything.
I love research. It's like I get high doing
know.
I do. I get high and then I do it, and it's quite an experience. I would suggest to everyone. But okay, so he sent the inexperienced team north with only 6 months of supplies. So he promised them that the, quote, friendly Arctic would provide enough animals for them to hunt and enough stuff on the land for them to survive comfortably. And he said he would send them a ship the following year to pick them up.
But didn't he say it would last them 6 months?
No, he's giving them 6 months worth of supplies because he funded a lot of shit. And
he's saying like after that 6 months,
after that 6 months,
own?
Yeah.
Okay.
Red
so
flag. Yeah, basically he gave them 6 months worth of supplies, knowing that the ship would have to wait another 6 months after their supplies would run out for them to pick them up.
Yikes.
So on September 9th, 1921, Ada showed up to board the ship, but she found that there were no other native Inuits that were joining the expedition. Okay, now he didn't lie to her. He did have a couple of others. I think there were 3 or 4 others, but they just last minute decided that they were not going to fucking go. And they were the lucky ones here. Okay. But Ada stayed focused and she was like, okay, my main goal is to bring my son home. And that's what I need. Money. I need to do what I need to do. And this is what the universe is giving me right now. And I just need to fucking do this. So Ada boarded the Silver Wave with Crawford, Knight, Muir, Gale, sled dogs, and the ship's cat, Victoria.
I love the cat.
Isn't that cute? So the ship was headed by Captain, ready for this?
No.
Jack Hammer.
Ugh. What is up with these people? They had to have picked these names.
Right, it's like a code name. Okay, so Jack Hammer was just the captain. He was going to take them to Wrangel Island, drop them off, then he was going to dip, BRB, see you in a year, leave, go back home. Okay, so while on the ship, a massive storm hit. While on the ship, a massive storm hit.
Wow.
And the ship rocked back and forth as the waves crashed on the side. and flooded the deck. One large fucking wave washed one of their smaller fishing boats overboard. So the fishing boat was for when they were on the island.
Look at that.
And it was kind of their only fucking fishing boat.
Yeah.
So this was a situation that would later leave them seemingly helpless. So on September 16th, it wasn't a long voyage at all. They left the 9th. They arrived the 16th. They landed at Wrangel Island. And it's not what they expected. It was cold, which they were used to. But in the summer there on Wrangel Island, the hottest temperature gets up to about 34 degrees Fahrenheit.
Bye.
And also today, I checked the weather, and it is 18 flaming degrees Fahrenheit there today. Break out that bikini, baby.
That's really cold.
Yeah. So the land was basically rocky beaches. It was cold. It was damp. There were mountains in the far distance. There was no greenery, no trees, basically just ice and rocks. It's beautiful, but not ideal. Like the cunty popular girl in high school. Beautiful, but not ideal. So the group of 4 unloaded their crap, and they got their sled dogs together, and they brought Victoria the cat to the campground, and Captain Jackhammer turned the ship around and left. So surprisingly, they were actually pretty prepared. Well, I mean, as prepared as they were as inexperienced as they were. So they had food, they had guns, they had ammunition, they had books, they had cooking supplies, they had lots of cloth for tents. There was a shit fucking load of driftwood. They had some wood that they brought with them, but on the island itself, there was so much fucking driftwood that they didn't have an issue having to like build shelter or anything. Good. Yeah. So the men built 3 little storage units. Well, they weren't little, but they were smaller storage units, and then individual sleeping quarters that had enough room to fit all of them if they needed to. So they weren't tents. They weren't cabins, but they were like somewhere in between. Like they had the driftwood that would build walls, and then the rest they would use the tarp from a tent, and like the what's it called? The overhead, the roof was like a tarp. So it was a half building hat. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm going to call them a bungalow.
I love that.
Okay. So the group of 4 explored the islands. They were writing down every flower they passed, every animal they saw. And like I said before, Ada could cook. So she chefed it up. You know, turn the SpaghettiOs to a gourmet meal. Cooking for these white people. She said, I'm going to boil the breast chicken. I got green bean casserole for you.
I got cornbread with corn.
Oh my God. Is black pepper too spicy for you?
Oh God.
So for some reason, none of the other men had hunting skills except for Fred Muir. I think his name is Muir. But I'm going to call him Muir.
I love that. It's fine. I probably messed up my person's name a lot.
That's fine. But Fred only knew the basics of hunting because he had gone on that awful expedition with Stephenson before where all the members died. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
Just a little throwback. Awesome. Great to be back. Yeah. Good to see you. Hope to see you soon. Sign my yearbook, Hags.
Bye.
So though he knew the basics, Fred was a fucking awful hunter. The majority of the animals they could see were either in the water or on rocks, like a little bit further out of the water. And every time he tried to shoot them, he would miss. So basically couldn't.
Did he use all his ammo?
No, they had surprisingly a lot of fucking ammo, but they couldn't really do anything with it because the animals needed to come closer. But the thing was, on the beaches were pretty shallow and the water was really fucking choppy. So no animal. Yeah, they were like, why the fuck would I want to go over there? Look at you guys. You look stupid on that fucking beach. Don't you know this is the life over here?
This is life.
But okay, yeah. So 2 weeks after they were on the island, something strange happened. Ada woke up one morning and refused to work, which was extremely unlike her. And they were all there for the same reason, and she needed to do her part, which was cooking and sewing, to keep the group functioning. And I know that that's like very sexist, but
it sure is.
But this, when they were hired for the expedition, it was like, this is your job, this is what you do. We can't survive without you. We are equals.
Oh, okay. I guess I'll take that.
Well, that's what the claim was. Right. Equals. That's always what the claim is, isn't it? Equality.
Men get paid cents more than women, so like.
Oh, do they? I hadn't realized that.
Well, research. You love it so much.
That was my.
I know.
Okay. Anyways, where was I? Okay, like, yeah, so she was just acting weird for some reason, which is when I was reading about her, this just honestly seemed really out of character for her. And then she got this random fixation on 20-year-old Alan Crawford.
Oh, no.
And no homo. He was cute for a guy in 1921. I'm just going to throw it out there. Literally, they were all in good shape and all good looking. All these guys that were there. I'm going to post a picture of them. And Ada got along with all of them except for 28-year-old Lorne Knight, who she feared. Lorne would often sharpen his knife, which Ada started bugging out about.
Oh.
She had like a fear that when he would sharpen his knife, she thought that like something was going to happen. She would literally hide in her bungalow, and she was convinced that eventually all of the men were planning to kill her.
Is she like going through hysteria?
Which was not the case. None of the men wanted to kill her. They were like, "Girl, calm down. We need you to cook. We need our SpaghettiOs.
Like,
What's up? There's
I'm
a chicken.
hungry.
It's not boiled, girl." So they tried to calm her down. Her crush, Crawford in particular, would help her calm down, but she would just randomly lash out, not violently, but she would just like burst into tears and run to her bungalow and just not want to talk to anybody. She would say that she missed her son Bennett, and she just stopped working. Some authors who have written about this case have diagnosed her with Arctic hysteria, which is a culture-bound mental disorder within Inuit women. Another source argues that Arctic hysteria did not exist, the same way that, white men would classify all women with hysteria back in the day, that they were just like, they're crazy. The women are going crazy.
They literally have emotions. Call them crazy.
Yeah, a lot of the people now who are re-looking at this case are thinking that she potentially was just under high anxiety and high stress, which wouldn't you be?
Right.
Along with a hormonal imbalance possibly, but there's honestly no reason or no way that we could figure out what really happened. It's not totally clear what happened, but she acted that way for 2 fucking months, and then Ada just went back to normal like nothing ever happened.
What?
So for the first year on Wrangel Island, the land surprisingly lived up to Stephenson's promises. Everybody got along after that 2 months. Everybody got along. They would read out loud to each other. Ada taught the men some hymns from her culture. She told them about Bennett and how much she missed him. They would play games. It was all good. Also, at the request of Stephenson, each of them kept a diary. They were required to write about the weather and how much they hunted pretty much on a daily basis. It didn't have to be like, "Dear diary," but pretty much just keep...
Apathetic.
Right, but they were there to do research. So it was like, write down the day. If you hunt something, if you see something weird, just write it down, because everything needs to be documented. Please and thank you. But later... the diaries would become a place for their bored and restless minds to express their emotions. So they took care of the sled dogs and their pretty little pussy Victoria. And all in all, the first 365 days were okay. But as the summer came to an end, the animals that they were commonly seeing walking around seemed to disappear. And the pack ice started to cover the water around the beach. And this was around the time when they were promised another ship that was going to pick them up. They had already gone through all the supplies that they were given, and they had actually been able to hunt and get enough game to eat and keep themselves alive.
For the other 6 months, yeah.
Yeah, well, for most of it, because then weeks passed after the first year, and the group was pretty much out of supplies completely.
And there's no cell phones.
There's no cell phones. No Candy Crush this time, baby. And one night, while Crawford and Fred were sleeping, they heard rustling outside of their tent. Before they could take a look, something stuck its head in. Do you want to guess?
A white tiger.
Close. It was a massive polar bear.
Yikes. I heard they're really aggressive.
Yeah, they're fucking scary. The men grabbed a nearby torch and waved it violently while screaming until the beast walked away. So this is kind of what they started to be fearful of. They were like, fuck, we're out of supplies, and we're in for a surprise.
Right, okay.
So the group was getting worried and impatient, not knowing that a ship would come to... they didn't know if a ship was going to pick them up or not. And remember, these are young people. The youngest was 19 and the oldest was 28.
Oh my God.
And Ada was just 23. So these are like kids we're talking about here.
Right.
And unbeknownst to the group, a ship chartered to pick them up had in fact left.
But it never made it.
But was forced to turn around due to impenetrable ice. Oh my God. And because, like you said, there was no way of communicating to this group, as the weather turned, the group faced the reality that the supplies, the limited, basically no supplies they had were going to have to last them a whole nother fucking year.
No, I can't be here.
Once more of the pack ice came, they said if a ship even comes, the ship's not going to be able to come close enough for us to get on it.
Why wouldn't you send it out in like the warmer months? Why would you wait until the same time of year?
This was the summer. This was the warm time of year there.
But I'm saying, like, if you wait for a whole year, it'd be the same month.
Right. But it was a unexpectedly really cold winter. Because like I said, on Wrangell Island, their summer's 34 degrees, which is 2 degrees above freezing.
Right. For your ass.
Yeah. So through the summer months, most of the sled dogs on the island were alive, but one had died, which they used as bait to catch fox. But like I said before, the hunting was not easy. They did the best they could, hoping that Stephenson would be there any day to pick them up. They were still trying to be hopeful. They were like, oh, wow, that pack ice is really packing there. There's no way a ship can come, but I'm sure he'll figure it out. But little did they know that he was in New York City, broke as hell.
Stop.
But
looking broke as hell.
But he wasn't a total asshole.
Okay.
He had a plan to get the Canadian government to get the group back, but the plan did not go accordingly. Essentially, the government gave him $3,000, which was not enough for him to get everything he needed to get them back. And considering the fact that Canada didn't want Wrangell Island in the first place, they were just like, you brought this upon yourself. We didn't even want this land.
Literally.
You're like trying to sell us snake oil. We should play that game again. That was a fun episode.
It really was.
But you were trying to get us land that we don't fucking need. So here's $3,000. I'm not giving you any more. So by the beginning of 1923, the situation had turned dire. The group was starving and Knight was extremely ill with undiagnosed scurvy, which is from a lack of vitamin C. Take your Flintstone vitamins, boys and girls. But they didn't know then that it was scurvy.
Right. Oh, no.
On January 28th, 1923, after all of Knight's teeth fell out, and also his skin was just getting nasty. It was like cracking, like his gums were bleeding, his like...
Oh, because it was so fucking cold?
Not that it was cold, it's from the scurvy.
Oh, right.
It just like rots everything. You need that vitamin C, baby.
Oh, that's crazy.
Vitamin C, oh my God, as we go on. We were just listening to that.
Remember.
I picked up Sarah.
Full circle, babe.
Oh my God, that's so funny. Maybe that was my subconscious that did that. But I picked up Sarah at the train station, and the way I let her know that my car was my car is I rolled the windows down and I blasted that song.
And then he literally rolled up on me really slow. And I was like, who the fuck?
Well, I did but there were people who I thought were going to jump in front of my car. Oh. I should have ran them over anyway.
True.
Speed bump, bump. What was I saying? Okay. So, yeah. Knight's teeth, all his teeth fell out. He's not in good condition. They're like, this doesn't look good. So the three other men, Crawford, Muir, and Gale, made a decision to leave Ada. They were like, Ada, girl, we need to go get help. You stay here. You take care of Knight. You're the only one who knows how to cook. You're the only one who knows how to like cook for him, and you can sew and shit. You stay here. We're going to take the sled dogs and we're going to travel across the ice to Siberia. Again, the dogs that were going to lead them were fucking exhausted, and they were like, we got to go get help. So, side note, if they did go to Siberia and they came across people, it was more than likely that they would actually be arrested for invading the country, but they had no other choice. So the men left Ada and Knight and were never seen again.
Oh.
So Ada stepped the fuck up. She taught herself how to hunt.
I love that for her.
She caught seals, she caught foxes, and more game than the men had combined.
Women do it better.
I'm saying, look at her go. She built fires, she cooked food, she skinned the animals. This was all stuff she had never done before. And she created a makeshift boat using driftwood and animal skin. She served as a doctor, a nurse, a companion, a servant, a woodsman, and a huntswoman. All in one. She really was a boss. And Knight really was a dick. So while she's out here doing all this stuff, making a living for herself and him while he's slowly dying, here's what happened. Oh, the first boat that Ada had made out of driftwood and animal skin had drifted out to sea during a storm. And he said, quote, "No wonder your children died."
What? I'll kill you right now, you scabby having fucking tool bag.
Scurvy, but I like where your head's at. I like where your head's at. So she would help him change clothes.
No.
She helped him bathe.
No.
And he would tell her that her ex-husband, Jack Blackjack, was right to beat the shit out of her. So
Why
she
would
was
she
biting
take
her
care
tongue.
of him?
Because it was like part of the. She was a good fucking person. She was way more above it than I would have been. But she's just doing what she needs to do. Right, she's doing what she needs to do on this expedition. So the dying man projected the rage he felt over his helplessness. This is what authors think now, that he was pretty much just like, I'm helpless. This Inuit woman is taking care of me, and she's doing a lot better job. Fuck this. I hate this.
But like, don't
toxic
project
masculinity.
your shit on me.
Right. So criticizing her for constantly not taking he was criticizing her for constantly not taking better care of him.
I would have let him die and be like, oop, must have been the scabies.
Right. So Ada did not outwardly like show emotion that he was like getting to her, but she confided in her diary and she wrote, quote, "He never stopped to think how hard it is for women to take the place of 4 men, to woodwork and hunt for something for him to eat, and to do, I'm sorry, her English was a little choppy, so I'm just reading what she wrote. To woodwork and hunt for something for him to eat, and do wading to his bed and take the shit out for him."
Yeah.
She did say shit. Good for her. Okay. But still, she kept her cool, and the two ended up sharing a bungalow while he was sick, just for the comfort of it.
No.
I don't know. But on the morning of June 23rd, 1923, Ada woke up, and Knight was not bitching at her for once, which was fucking strange. Then she realized the air was strangely still, and she walked to his bed and found that Knight had died in his sleep. So she was not strong enough to budge his body, so she left his body inside that little bungalow, and she barricaded the bungalow so no animals would be able to get to his body, and she herself moved into one of the storage tents, which were not made to be lived in.
Oh, shit.
So she had to re-canvas it because it was too cold.
Right.
She had to build more driftwood walls to hold the tent better. She built a new stove out of kerosene cans, and she built a gun rack above her bed just in case a polar bear tried to fuck with her.
Yes, gun rack.
So while Knight passed away, Ada recorded actually she used a typewriter. Because Gale, the one guy, he had a typewriter. She actually used a typewriter to make this note and stick it in her diary. Quote, "The date of Mr. Knight's death, he died on June 23rd. I don't know what time he died, though. Anyway, I write the date just to let Mr. Stephenson know what month he died and what date of the month. Written by Mrs. Ada B. Jack." So now she was on her own.
Yeah.
Well, almost. Because she had Bennett on her mind. She kept her motherly instincts and continued to care for Victoria, the cat.
Yeah, I was going to say, where's this pussy at?
So Ada hunted seals. She stole eggs from nests of local birds. But unfortunately, when she would stockpile the food, polar bears would come by and fucking steal it in front of her, and she couldn't do anything about it.
Right.
So she did her very best to survive for her son. She snuggled up with Victoria when the nights were cold and lonely.
Yes, little cat.
She continued to track things in her diary, mostly simple stuff like what she hunted that day and what the weather was like. But the later pages in her diary turned grim. Okay. She began writing about vivid memories of times in Nome with her son Bennett, and ultimately wrote a living will for which she wished for who she wished would take care of her son when she died, and she denied her ex Jack Blackjack from caring for Bennett, but little did she know Jack had actually recently passed away while she was on this island. So fuck that guy.
I thought you were gonna say he took Bennett. I was gonna say
no, he dead. So the days grew longer, and the summer of 1923 rolled around. Alone, hungry, and nearing death, Ada would not let herself give up hope. So let's jump back to New York. Stephenson was working on gathering $10,000 to send a ship to Wrangler Island. Just a side note, he didn't know that it was basically Ada left, because there was no fucking way that he could. Yeah. And he didn't see the group of 4 as stranded. He had given them supplies, and he truly thought that they would have enough to like get them through 2 whole years. So he saw them as explorers and the temporary island's colonizers. So that he was like, yo, they got it set up. The fuck. Okay, so this is when the tragic story turns into a dark, fucked up, very dramatic soap opera. So pay attention, class. So Ada is strangled alone on Wrangel Island, and we
Stranded.
What did I say? Strangled?
Strangled.
Oh my God! It's because the word wrangle. Oh no, that was so bad of me to
Right.
say. Okay, Ada is stranded alone on Wrangel Island. Wow, thank you. Sometimes I be saying shit like that, and then I edit it, and I'm like, what the fuck?
What was I doing?
So if you guys ever hear a sentence that doesn't make sense, fight me. I love how you leaned into the microphone like they could hear it.
I hate myself.
Oh my goodness, I love you. Okay, so Ada alone, Wrangel Island. We are in New York trying to figure out how the fuck to get her. So enter a man named Harold Noyce. He had been an explorer and he knew Lorne Knight, but he didn't like him. He didn't know that Knight was dead. But this is kind of how this whole thing ties in. So Stephenson and Noyce run into each other in New York. It's not exactly clear how it happened. I skimmed over that chapter. They both had issues that the other one could possibly solve. Noyce wanted to travel north and make money, and Stephenson wanted someone to captain the relief ship. So Noyce went to Nome. They made a little dealy deal. Noyce went to Nome, Alaska, where he was instructed to wait while Stephenson got the money. When Noyce arrived in Alaska, he realized everybody in the fucking town was really pissed at Stephenson and anybody associated with him because they knew that those people were stuck over there on the island.
Right.
And he basically
promised to
abandoned
bring
all of
them
them.
back.
Right. So the townspeople targeted Noyce and they would actually jack up the prices on everything he needed in order to further the expedition. So they didn't do this to stall or slow the rescue. They just knew that Stephenson would figure out how to get the money because he always did. And they just wanted to run him fucking dry of all his money. So when in Nome, Noyce hired Native Alaskans to get a charter ship. And on August 1st, 1923, Stephenson gave $12,000, which was $2,000 more than promised, to Noyce to head to Wrangler Island. And by this time, word had spread and Russia chimed in and they threatened to arrest anybody aboard Noyce's relief ship if they attempted to step foot on Wrangler Island, which, as a reminder, legally still belonged to Russia. So regardless, on August 2nd, 1923, Noyce and his crew of rescuers boarded the ship and departed a few days later. Ada heard what sounded like walruses mating on the beach. But baby, it wasn't walruses getting it on. It was Noyce and the fucking rescue ship. Bitch.
Yes.
Imagine the fucking
Go
relief.
home, girl.
She hadn't seen anybody in 2 years. So rescuers were shocked to see the condition of the camp. And at the time of her rescue, Ada had survived 703 days in total. She was literally like days within 2 full years of being on Wrangel Island. So she got on the ship with her cat, Victoria, who also fucking survived.
Yes,
bitch.
Vicky.
So at first, when she returned, Ada Blackjack was known as the female Robinson Crusoe. She collected her pay from Stephenson and she had enough money to get Bennett.
Yes.
And she put him in a good fucking hospital.
I love that.
Ada even visited Knight's family because she thought it would be the right thing to do. Even though she hated him, she physically
went. A stand-up woman.
She physically went to visit the family, gave her condolences, and Knight's family was eternally grateful. They embraced her with appreciation, and they were just like, I know that you did what you could. We really appreciate you, and like you're family to us now.
Yeah.
Which is really nice to know that at least the people who
Someone
raised
was
Lorne Knight weren't shitholes. So while all this is happening, Noyce was being a shitty, sketchy motherfucker.
It never ends.
So Ada had 16 furs from her time on Wrangel Island, and she sold them to Noyce for $75 less than they were worth each. You do the math.
Okay.
Ada didn't know that. Noyce did. Then Noyce took all the diaries from the... Excuse me? The cat thinks she can eat right now?
She's wearing her spring collar that I got her.
She is. Like, why does she have to do this now?
What? Buffet.
Literally buffet, Buffet. She's fucking eating.
Literally.
She's eating good tonight. Hold on, I'm going to move her food bowl. All right, so then Noyce took all the diaries from the men, including Ada's, which she actually had freely given to him. So keep this in mind. He skimmed through most pages, but Noyce read Lorne Knight's diary with precision. Because what Ada didn't know was Noyce had signed a contract before he rescued her. Noyce had signed a contract with the North American Newspaper Alliance, and he was going to be paid $3,000 for the story of what happened to the group that was stranded on Wrangel Island.
I'm so pissed.
But before anything, Noyce told his lawyer that there was some sketchy shit in Knight's diary. He never showed the lawyer, and he didn't say exactly what was in it, but Noyce made it very clear that they needed to be very careful with some of the stuff in Knight's diary, especially if they were going to go public.
I want to sock the shit out of this guy.
So, using an eraser
It doesn't belong to him.
and his very own Ticonderoga #2 pencil. Ticonderoga? That's the brand of pencil?
Oh, that's how you say it?
Yeah, what'd you think it was? It's just one of those words you see and you just don't say out loud.
I just don't.
Yeah, heard that. So he erased and rewrote some things in Knight's diary.
I want to throw my computer against the wall.
And he tore out 10 pages.
What the fuck?
So then Stephenson chimed in when he found out what
Not
was
so
happening.
Noyce now.
He was never Noyce to begin with.
Literally.
Oh, that's so funny. You're witty.
Thank
I
you.
love it. Witty Houston over there.
Oh, that was good.
Oh, fuck, that was
Shit.
witty. That was fucking meta.
No, you.
Yes.
You
give me-
witty gritty.
I'll take it. It's a Philly reference.
Yes.
Fuck yeah. Look at us go. We should have a podcast. Okay, what was I saying? Oh, so Stephenson finds out and he chimes in and he's just like, yo, that was my expedition. Those were my crew members. Those diaries belong to me. And then the London Daily News offered Noyce more money. So Noyce sold his story to them, which broke his contract with the North American Newspaper Alliance. And Noyce's story was fucked up. To sell papers and make money off of a survival story he pretty much had no part of, except, sailing a fucking charter ship.
The city of, don't tell me.
I don't know what you're trying to guess, so I couldn't tell you if I wanted to.
The Alaskan city that they're in. Nome.
Yes.
The city of Nome literally already hates him. And he's just like,
Oh, well, this is beyond Nome
the
now.
wheels keep on turning.
Wait, who? Noyce?
Yeah.
Noyce isn't even back in Nome.
Oh, okay.
He went the fuck home.
Oh, okay.
He's in New York.
Oh, so he's literally like
He's
lives.
it's in between. So the story's kind of in between Alaska and then New York City. They're kind of like jumping back and forth. Like it's something easy to do back then. Like what the fuck?
I'm confused, but whatever.
I guess he used Uber. Use promo code Oddities for 50% off your. No, don't do
That's,
that.
like,
That
not
code's
real.
not gonna work. I'm just joshing.
Uber and
ya.
Lyft are on strike.
Same. It's not gonna work out for them. It's not. No. For the people on strike.
I know.
Okay. No, I mean I
They
understand
already
their
get
side.
a lot of money.
They don't get that much money and they're getting cuts. But the thing is, Uber is created not to be a full-time job. We could argue about it for days, but Uber was
Literally, it's
created like
part-time.
for like side money that
Yeah.
they're kind of like the side hustle.
Yeah.
So like even if these people are on strike, you could literally just hire students, anybody with a driver's license, and those which sucks for
And
those people who
will do
need
it
the money,
part-time.
right?
Yeah.
Which sucks for the people who need money, but Uber, it's not. You can't really make a full-time living off of Uber.
Right.
Thank you guys for listening to that little portion of our story. Thank
I love
you.
that for you. That's that on that.
Yes, we need that more. Okay, so again, Noyce's story that was published. This is the first story that was published. Fucked up. Harold Noyce. Was his name Harold? I think it was Harold. Harold Noyce.
I don't know. He's not Noyce.
No, he's not. He wanted to make Ada Blackjack look as bad as possible. So on February 11th, 1924, Noyce's article ran in an American newspaper. This is the second time he made a deal with London. Now he's back in America. And the title was "Spurned Eskimo Woman is Blamed for Arctic Death." Okay, so within this article, Noyce told the paper how Ada was, quote, healthy, fat, and happy, end quote, while her fellow bedridden explorer, Knight, had starved to
He
death.
had scabies.
He had scurvy, but they didn't know.
I keep calling him scabies.
That's okay.
I cannot get scurvy.
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 Yark. So he painted the picture that when the three other men left camp, Knight died of hunger, which pretty much implied that she was
wasn't
waiting.
doing her job.
That she was waiting until they left, so there were no witnesses, so she could target him and starve him to death. Again, they didn't know he died of scurvy. When Ada said none of this was true, because she didn't want any of the fame. She didn't want any part of this. She was like, I went there to get money to get my son.
That's
came
why
back
people
and
aren't
now
fucking nice.
Noise. So now all this shit is about to happen. I'm telling you, it's going to turn into a soap opera. So strap in, strap on, and get your Ticonderoga.
Get your pumps in.
Uh-huh. I don't know what that meant, but yes. Is that sexy?
Yeah.
Sexual? Okay.
Pumps?
Like stilettos?
No.
Oh, thrust.
Yes.
Oh, I'm just a 16-year-old. I don't know what that is. So when Ada was like, yo, none of this is true, Noyce backed up his statements with the paper with the fake shit he wrote himself in Knight's diary.
I want to throw myself against the wall.
And as a backup story, if Noyce, so this is what he was thinking, if Noyce was ever accused of ripping out the 10 pages and rewriting diary entries, he was just going to blame Ada because she was alone with the diary for over 57 days after Knight had died, and she was probably bored at some point and had to have read it, right? So she had all that opportunity to Tara, and that seems like plausible. Like nobody would say anything about that, right? Which is so fucked up because all this time that right before the article was published, Ada had been continuously writing to Noyce, thanking him for saving her life. And Noyce received them, but he never answered.
This better have a turn, and it better be in favor of Ada, or I'm leaving.
He never returned any of the letters. So Noyce's wife also fucking hated Ada for seemingly no reason. And she was fueled with pretty much jealousy and hate, right? Like, who the fuck are you?
Who are you? You have nothing to do with anything.
Get out of here.
Where are we?
I'm saying, must be another dimension, bitch, because keep my name out your fucking mouth.
Okay.
Ada Blackjack, I'm gonna Ada Black slap you across the fucking face, bitch.
I hope Ada really turns into a boss ass bitch.
She already is a boss ass bitch.
No, she really is.
True.
But I need her to stop being nice.
Right.
Am I?
What? What were you gonna say? Were you gonna take disappointment?
The whole time I was thinking the microphone was over here.
Oh, maybe that's why you're so quiet. You crack me up. Oh, God damn it. Okay, so...
Oh, sorry.
Again, Noyce's wife, she's fueled with jealousy and hate.
Fuck that bitch.
She chimed in, and she said the men hired Ada as a sex worker to come to Wrangel Island. She only went on the trip to sexually service the men whenever they needed a quick nut in the butt. And she was hoeing around the whole island, which, I mean, there was only 3 men, so it wouldn't be that hard.
Okay,
but
first of all,
it wasn't true
you wouldn't
at all.
even survive a day. So,
Right.
take your jealous ass and take 5 seats, okay?
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, count them and take them.
Now.
Thank you. So then Stephenson wrote a book. And in Stephenson's book, he made himself look like a great fucking person with little to do with the disaster.
I hate these men.
He basically was saying that the men and Ada wanted to go on this trip on their own, and Stephenson had met them and agreed. And he was like, "Yeah, I'll provide you with the money and the resources and a rescue ship."
That's not how it works.
Yeah, so he just published a book. He wasn't really shit talking Ada, but he was like, "Hey, I was a good part of this." So anyway, Noyce wrote more articles and a book, and both basically at this point, it's the 2 men. It's Noyce fighting against Stephenson, who neither of them were on the island. Neither of them were survivors from the shit that happened. Both of them are profiting off of this, and then somehow Stephenson was led on to find out that Noyce had penciled the stuff and erased some stuff out of Knight's diary. I'm not really sure how that happened, but it did, which was pretty much that Knight's diary was the backbone to all of Noyce's articles, which were making him a lot of fucking money. So Stephenson took the diary straight to the FBI. And after 2 years, it took them 2 fucking years to analyze this shit because this was back in the day. They found out that he had erased almost everything that made Ada look like a helpful woman. And then they made it public, and Noyce had to retract his negative statements, but the damage was already done to Ada's reputation.
No!
And now Ada Blackjack, who was actually now Ada Johnson, didn't make a penny on her own story.
Oh my God, I want to fucking fight.
So as for Wrangel Island...
I thought this was a story of survivors.
She did survive. She did. As for...
I'm not going to take away her credit.
Right. As for Wrangel Island, and she was 23 when that happened. I think, well, after 2 years, she's 25, if my math is correct. As for Wrangel Island, a few years later, there were actually 14 Canadian settlers who lived on the island when the Russians came and arrested them. this has nothing to do with Ada. This is just what happened to the island. Through the process, a baby and a man died. The survivors were sent to a prison in China until they were finally rescued by the U.S. Red Cross. And to this day, the island is pretty much vacant, and it is still a part of Russia. Ada's reputation, unfortunately, never sprung back from all the lies. Most of the town continued to think that she was brought to Wrangel Island as a sex worker, and worse lies swirled around that she had actually murdered and cannibalized the missing men because they were never found. None of this was true. Ada didn't really care what people thought anymore. Ada remarried on September 13th, 1924. She gave birth to her second son in Nome. His name was Billy Johnson. Then she herself caught tuberculosis and struggled for 10 years. So she had to place her newborn children in that same orphanage. And when she recovered, she used her self-taught skills from Wrangel Island to trap, hunt, and skin animals to make a living. So, I mean, she was making a living off what she learned on Wrangel Island, but it still fucking sucks. Yeah. And she had tuberculosis. Her son Billy grew up to become pretty much a philanthropist. Well, in a sense, a philanthropist. Mm-hmm. He idolized his mother, Ada, for her strength, and she inspired him to do work with a lot of organizations that helped Alaskan natives. Billy's older half-brother, Bennett, remember Bennett? He never recovered from tuberculosis. Oh, no. And years later, at the age of 58, her first son, Bennett, died after having a stroke.
Damn.
Ada eventually moved to Palmer, Alaska, and spent the last days of her life in a pioneer home, state retirement facility. And on May 29th, 1983, at the age of 85, Ada died in Anchorage, Alaska. A month after her death, on June 16th, 1983, the Alaska legislature recognized her bravery and heroism from surviving Wrangel Island.
Thank God.
And that is the story of Ada Blackjack Johnson.
That was good.
It was a wild one. Yeah.
I feel like I was very, what's the word I'm trying to look for? Expressive in this episode.
I love an expressive bitch. This story's kind of nuts. Like, this was one of those stories that I literally didn't know where it was gonna go.
Yeah, and then me neither.
By the time she came back, the fact that
I can't believe her whole reputation was slandered by that
for
fuck
nothing.
Face.
For them to get money, it was literally back and forth. And then other people were chiming like,
too many hands in the fucking pot.
You are. And she was just like, can I live my life? Like, you don't have to. Why are you ruining my reputation? And they're like, because it's fun.
Yeah, literally.
Did you see that? I think you did. The interview with Quentin Tarantino where she's like, why are you so violent? And he's like, because it's so much fun, Jan. Like, that's what I expected them to be like. It's just
and
really,
they probably hated women and they're mad because she.
Yes, she was also an Inuit, so she's a minority.
Yeah.
And
which history repeats itself, so.
Right. She is a badass woman who overcame. She fucking survived that shit. When she returned to home,
and she didn't give a fuck what anyone said.
Right. She didn't want to make money off of what happened. She was like, I did what I had to do. I got paid for it. That was a chapter in my life I don't want to relive. Can we just be fucking done with it?
Wow.
And just shitty stuff happened to her. And the pictures of her are she just looks like such a little pristine, like glowing, good vibes. She's adorable. I know. And there's one picture of her and her son that I'm definitely going to post because it just like makes me so happy. But unfortunately, that is kind of what happened in her life. And you're not going to find much about her on the internet. I had to take to a library. So literally. Also not many podcasts have covered her. I found I think one, a singular podcast that covered her case. So this wasn't a true crime murdery survivor story, but the second I came across it, I was like, I need to I need to talk about this woman because she's been through some shit. She survived. That was our topic, and she deserved to
recognition.
Yes. We love you, Ada.
Literally.
So.
Tweet of the week.
Okay. My tweet of the week comes from at Cat Grapham.
I love that.
Grapham. Maybe I wrote that wrong. And it's it says, petition to rename mini golf to just golf and golf to large golf. I laughed longer than I should have.
I already know what laugh you did. My tweet of the week is from @iTrevi. It says, Ted Bundy kills 30-plus woman. Jury, guilty. Ted Bundy. And then it's the picture of Pikachu with his mouth open.
That's actually really funny. I love that. My fun fact is that coconut water can be used as blood plasma.
I love that.
But that don't mean essential oils can be used as vaccines. Get them baby shots,
Literally,
Darlene.
please. Y'all are ruining the earth. My fun fact is calling shotgun when riding in a car comes from the term shotgun messenger, which was used to refer to the guard who sat next to the stagecoach driver. The guards would use a shotgun to keep robbers and criminals away. It made its way into society due to Hollywood's love of Western flicks.
I love that. I actually did know that.
You didn't?
I did know that.
I love that for you.
Thank you guys so much for listening. I almost said
Always.
watching.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening. If you haven't, we would really appreciate it. If you told a fucking ugly friend, that's all you got to do. It's free. Just go ahead and tell an ugly friend. Be like, hey, you might like this podcast. They're two idiots. You're an idiot. You might have something in common. Also, if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed to us wherever you listen to us, and give us a rating on iTunes or wherever you can give us a rating. It honestly really fucking helps us. Thank you to those who have written some reviews. We greatly appreciate it. And follow us on Instagram at Esoteric Oddities, on Twitter at Esoteric Oddity, ODDITIE. If you've got a topic you'd like, go ahead and send it in.
Please.
Email us at odditiespodcast@gmail.com, baby. Anything else you want to say before we hang up this long distance phone call?
No, I'm going to have some really good picks for the social. So
Yeah, so make sure you're following us.
Yes, please.
Bye.
bye.
Bye.